Let's extend and build on this conversation. General Karen Gibson of Academy Securities writing for us, reopening the Strait is a matter of urgency and Iran knows it. I suspect Iran is gambling it cannot last us here. General Gibson joins us now for more. General Gibson, that last line, is there good reason to believe that Iran can outlast the US?
Well, I think it's a matter of political fortitude on our part. And if we want to achieve the objectives of this campaign, which were, as we've just heard, to impose very strict limits on Iran's ability to gain nuclear weapons, then this key leverage is something that we need to sustain. I think it's telling the actions that Iran is taking right now and indicating, as you said, that, the combination of previous sanctions, of the wartime infrastructure damage, and now essentially a maritime blockade, our interdiction efforts are probably beginning to take a toll on a regime that has previously proved very resilient to economic pressure.
Well, if the Iranians are so resilient, do you see the United States doing anything before they reach their maximum capacity on storage in the oil industry called tank tops?
I think that the strategy that we have now, really this post-kinetic phase of using our military assets mutually, Iran is doing the same thing, to exert economic pressure on one another, Iran preventing essentially the flow of traffic in and out of the Strait, and the U.S. Navy preventing the flow of traffic in and out of Iranian ports, is proving to be pretty successful. Again, I think when we look at Iran's negotiating strategy at this point, trying to decouple the economic pressure from the nuclear discussions. I think they're seeking economic relief. They want military relief in terms of sustaining the ceasefire, and then that would allow them to postpone, drag out, or negotiate at least on the nuclear aspects from a position of a less coercive position, in greater advantage to them.
If Trump cannot open up the Strait of Hormuz diplomatically, will he do so with the military?
I think in terms of opening it with the military, that would really mean escorting tankers and other vessels, as we've talked about before. It's certainly a feasible military option, and I don't think that Iran would be in a position to really strongly contest that. They could take pot shots at vessels that are going through, but I think if they did that, they would be inviting more of those very punishing airstrikes that we've levied in the past.
General, what do you make of the comments we've heard from both the administration and other analysts that there really isn't any kind of cohesion in the Iranian leadership, that there isn't anyone like the former Ayatollah who could have come out and said, this is the route that we're going to take, the poison chalice that we're going to drink, and we're going to come to this agreement? Do you think that that's an accurate reflection of things on the ground?
Well, I certainly think it's fair to say that the current Ayatollah lacks the strength of his father to act, certainly with greater authority. But I think that the IRGC is really the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, remains probably pretty cohesive. I've often heard there are no real moderates among those who are in charge. It's just various factions of hardliners. And I'm not sure we see yet concrete evidence that there's significant friction within the Islamic Republic's leadership.
General, what do you make of reports that there is some dissension from the rank and file that aren't getting paid because of a lack of cash coming into the regime?
So I think that's where we would probably be more likely to see some friction. Some of the indicators I would look for would be defections or units that are no longer willing to carry out orders. But now that we're not conducting kinetic operations and Iran is not responding in kind, that's a little harder to detect. But those are some of the indicators I would look for that would lead me to believe that there was a growing friction within the security establishment.
General, always appreciate getting some time with you. Thank you very much. General Karen Gibson there. Thank you, of Academy Securities, on the latest situation in the Middle East.